Hello everybody and welcome back to Hearts of Iron, where I've done a little bit of research here on how exactly the ideology changing in this game works. And according to what I'm reading on the wiki, election changing only happens if a party has at least 50% control. Which is kinda wild, if you ask me. Our smallest support party is winning the election, and I think we'll always win the election at our current rate. So other ways that you can change your ideology. Focus tree. That is not an option for us, because to start down this, we need to not be democratic. Fascist works, communist works, non-aligned works, but we can't get any of that. So that would get us collectivist ethos, which would be perfect. That's exactly what we need. We can't go that route. We cannot go that route. And we can't hire a political advisor either. We just don't have one available. It's not an option. So I don't think there's actually any way to do this at this moment. We don't have a civil war option. So I think we have to commit to democracy or use cheat commands. I think those are our only options. Now, one thing I want to check out is, what is this interventionism focus out over here? So we've got liberty ethos out over this way. We have to be democratic to do this. This is our only real option here. That gives us trade deal opinion factor, and then we can go to neutrality focus, which is absolutely not the way we want to go. Or we could go interventionism focus. That allows us to send volunteer forces. Okay. That gives us then volunteer corps and foreign expeditions. So that unlocks volunteering. But this doesn't matter, because world tension isn't going up because no one's starting wars. So I don't think this is a viable path for us, to be honest. So maybe we're going to have to change our ideology via cheats in some way. And I'd need to come up with some sort of a quote-unquote fair way to do that. I don't like to just outright be like, okay, well, let's just go in here and do like manpower 16 billion. I don't think that's fun. That's not a good way to do it, right? This is obviously, what is this number? 125-490-08-QWE 5U0-98540-942385U. That is the correct amount of manpower, and no one is going to be able to convince me otherwise. That's how much manpower we need. I don't know what that means, but I don't want to do that. And I think the command in Hoi is change ideology, and then you just put in like fascist, right? That's not how you spell it. But something like this. We would do something like that. I'm going to... Have we ticked forward? Hang on. Let's check the date here. 10/27. Okay, so we have a save right here. I'm just going to test this and see if this works. I don't necessarily want to do this. Unknown command. Okay, I don't actually know the command for doing this. It is... Oh, set ruling party, according to my search. And then this would be perhaps fascist. So we just want to know how this works, right? For now, that's the goal behind doing this. Fascist is not a valid ideology group. Okay, so what are the valid groups? According to the AI overview, which may be wrong, fascist is supposed to be a valid ideology group. So that's interesting. We could just change the party popularity. That is a thing that... Oh, we can just have the first letter? No. So set ruling party doesn't seem to actually work. Yeah, that does not work. We can do add party popularity. And then this would be, say, N for non-aligned, right? But even then, non-aligned, I think, still has to wait until the tension reaches a particular level, does it not? Hang on, we got to figure that out. So at this point, why are you Canadian? Okay, so Ahagar is Canada. That's good to know. They're not aligned. So I want to do debug tooltip. Is it with... That's just turning off the tooltip entirely? Yep, that just turns off the tooltip entirely. Debug mode. I can never remember these. It's not that one. Debug tooltips? No? Just debug? Yes, just debug. Okay, so now we can see that this is AHG. So tag AHG. And now from here, the question is, can we justify 50% for non-aligned? That's what I thought. Okay, so that means that we have to go fascist, right? So tag back to ISR. We don't actually want to change anything if we can help it. And let's turn debug back off. I don't care about it anymore. So that's all fine. That means we have to go fascist or communist here, and I think fascist is the obvious choice because we do already have 36% popularity for that. We can't get daily change for it. If we could just hire someone here to get that, that would be fantastic. But there's no one available for it. So that's not an option. Instead, what we have to do, I think, is just pretend that we have a decision here. Because otherwise, this game is never going to go anywhere. So I think what we have to do is we have to just say, we're going to put a political power price on changing our ideology. So our political power price could be something like 10 political power per percent. So if we want this to get up to 50%, that would mean we'd need 14%, which would cost like, well, it would be like 15%. So that would cost us 150 political power to get that up. And honestly, I think that's fair because if you have an advisor that can change your pressure on your diplomacy, or rather on your politics, they cost 150. So that seems to be about ballpark of the pricing for this. So in that case, we would spend 150 political power, boost our fascist ideology up to 150, and then, or rather not 150, up to 51. And then the question is, do we want to wait out this election? The election just happened. Do we have a save right before it? Hang on. This is March. We'd have to go back to March. Honestly, just for the sake of having things happen in the world, I feel like that's worthwhile. So I'm going to load this save. Because nothing is going to happen unless we make something happen. And we're not in a position to be able to do that, but now we are-ish. We would need 150 political power. So the question is, we're gaining 1 per day at this moment, right? So if we open up the calculator and we check, so we've got March, April, May, June, and July. 5 months. I'm going to assume that they're all 30 days. That's not a great assumption. They're not. But times 30, that gives us 150 political power right there. So we have enough political power to do this before the election at this save. Honestly, I feel like we have to do this. I really, really do. I don't like doing it this way, but I feel like it's necessary. So we need to re-spend some of these. I believe we previously grabbed this. There we go. And we need to set these guys back up, right? So we had one of them here, we had one of them up over here, and we had one of them down here on this front. And then we had this guy up over here as well. And we needed to build naval bases here and here to be able to actually move troops down here. Okay. So we're back a little ways, and we're just going to pretend that there's a way to do what we're doing, because we're just kind of stuck right now. And I think a lot of this is because of the focus tree that we got, right? A lot of this is because we're on a very, very generic focus tree, and that's understood. So we're working on bomber focus right now, and these we're going to have to redo. I'll try to remember what we had done previously, but I really feel like this is the best way to get things moving in this game, and it really needs it. It really, really does. So I don't feel like we have much of a choice here. I think we just kind of have to do this. So in order to run a quick test here, I'm going to save the game here. Actually, we can go negative in our political power, right? If we go negative in our political power, does that stop this focus? I don't know. We have half the political power right now. I'm just going to test this right now, and I'm just going to do, hang on, caps lock is on. What was this command again? This was add party popularity. F, and then the value would be 15. Added 15 popularity to help him. That seems right. Yeah, so that puts us at 51% here. What that means is that we now owe the fascist party 150 political power. Okay, we will pay that off as soon as we get it, is the way that I'm going to do this. So essentially, we're functionally purchasing an advisor to boost up our fascism, but we've also still got all of these. Maybe we should have one of them be fired? We can't. We can't select no advisor. Okay. Well, that's a little unfortunate. In that case, maybe we should essentially have to pay a little bit more political power, like 175, in order to compensate for that. Because we've essentially got an extra political advisor right now, and I think that that's probably a good idea. So for now, that's going to be the plan. Now, how are we doing on all of... Okay, we're still working on these factories here. Are we on our improved tanks? Yes, we're on improved medium tanks. Okay, I was concerned about that. I didn't want to have to redesign that, but we're good. We're on the improved tanks. We are definitely back in time a little ways, but I think that's just absolutely necessary. Otherwise, we'd just be sitting here for 4 years doing literally nothing, and I don't think that's interesting. So I think this is the best way forward, given the options that we have. I know we grabbed this previously, so we'll do that. And as far as doctrines go, we went for strategic destruction. There we go. So that all looks good. We don't have these 2 military staff here. We're going to have to hold off on those. We will hire the same ones later. So that'll be fine. Marines 2 just finished. I don't remember what we replaced each of these with, but I'll try to be semi-similar. I know we got Logistics Company 2 at some point. So we're going to grab that. That seems fine. We will be back out of this soon enough. We can see that this naval base is done, and now these guys are starting to move out here. So we should be thinking about the logistics of a potential war with Al Said, which was always the plan. Supply hubs up here look fine. This supply hub, maybe not so much. So let's go ahead and put a supply hub here. This one will reach somewhat, but I want to get one a little further forward. So we'll get that going for now, and upgrading the railways over here, probably not a terrible idea. So we can do something like this, and then this up over this way, we also want to get upgraded. So our capital is like right here, right? Approximately, somewhere around in here. Where is it? Yeah, Jerusalem's right here. Okay, so that's understood. In this case, we should upgrade here, here, and here for sure. And this should probably also get upgraded out this direction. So there's this hub out over here, which we're going to want to motorize up to make sure that we have supplies coming through over here. And we'll get all of that upgraded on up. So that'll get our logistics in place for Al Said. We're at 102. As I said, it's going to be 175. I believe the console command for political power in this game is PP. I don't know that for a fact, but I suspect that's what it is. So we're going to have to wait on collectivist ethos. We can't get that yet, but we can absolutely take aviation effort too, which we're going to do. We also have a research slot available, and I believe we started work on construction stuff around this time, right? So we started to work on like concentrated industry, construction 4, something like that previously. I really don't like backtracking like this, but When the option is we just sit there for 4 years, and keep in mind 4 years is almost half the duration of a standard Hearts of Iron game. Like, if we're just gonna sit there for half of the game and do nothing, and not have any tools to have a different result by the time we get to the next election anyway, I feel like we don't have a choice. The mod that imported us over kind of put us in a bad position, and that's not really the mod's fault. It just is the way it played out. It's not really the game's fault. It's not really our fault. There's not really any fault here. We just have a problem that needs to be fixed. That's all there is to it. We need the world tension to ratchet up, and we have to be the ones to be able to do it. No way around it. So this is, as you can see, a little overloaded at this moment. I think we should probably stop exercising. Well, maybe not yet. I think we'll keep exercising for now. Yeah, I think it's okay for the moment. But we're going to be paying back 175 political power in order to essentially balance out the very minor advantage that we gave ourselves here. So I feel like we're kind of overpaying for that advantage, and that's a good thing. We should be overpaying for utilizing the cheat menu. So that's fine. Improved Infantry Equipment 2 has finished up. And these are all pretty ahead of time. I believe, again, at this point, that we were starting to work on things like these. So we'll get going on that. Perfect. So we're at 134 political power right now. Do we want to be allowed to pay off our political power in installments? I mean, I feel like that'll make it harder to remember how much political power we owe. At this moment, we owe 175. And that's just to boost us 15%. That's all we needed. The bare minimum of what we needed was this. And that'll get us what we need. So our next election is going to be in August, and that seems fine. I really don't like going in and changing things like this, but I really, really think it's for the best in this case. I don't see an alternative. I would take one if there was one, but alas. Ideally, we'd see Britain, France, Scandinavia actually doing things. They already have. Well, these guys are actually non-aligned, but their next election is going to be in 42. The fascists are going to win it. Like, they're going to be fascist aligned, right? I'd like it if they'd actually do something. France is fascist aligned. Scandinavia is as well. So ideally, they do things, but they don't. They don't do things. So that's very rude. Very rude indeed. We do have a doctrine available for our special forces. We will elevate the Marine Corps as usual. And that all seems fine for right now. So it's June at this time, and we're just waiting for our political power to go up a little bit more here. We need that to hit we need that to hit 175. I was going to say 1.75. That's not how words work. So that's understood. We should be doing much better on supplies in some of these areas now that our rail lines are finishing up. Yeah, this is definitely better on that front. Down here, it's still a little rough. And we expect it to be rough because there's only so many supplies that can come in through this naval base. We could start construction of another naval base here to help offset that a little bit. And actually, I'm going to do that. We'll get going on that. That seems fine. So now that we're tipping the scales on this, I still think it's very strange that you have to have over 50% for your actual ethos to change. That's kind of wild. But okay, sure. In my opinion, what should have happened is we had 38% non-alignment, which means that we should have become non-aligned, which would have allowed us to go down the collectivist ethos because we would have been non-aligned at that point, which would squash democracy support and raise our non-aligned and fascist support respectively. Then we'd be able to take nationalism focus, which would give us the daily fascism support if the non-elected had won the election. And maybe we should go that path instead. That's kind of a more realistic path. So what that would mean is that we would have this go back down by 15, right? Like that. And we would instead, do we need to refresh this? Yeah, this is about where it was supposed to be, although Central Council was supposed to be 38. That's probably just a rounding error. And then we would add in to the N faction. This would be, we would add in 14. Like that. N is not a valid ideology group. Maybe a lowercase n? Yes, lowercase n. Okay, so in that case, that puts us where the Central Council is going to win this election, which is the way that I feel like the election should happen anyway. Now, that's going to slow us down a little bit, I think. Unless there is recruitable population plus 2%, and 1% recruitable population here. Ideological fanaticism. Okay, I'm just checking to see if any of these give us an earlier election. I don't think they do. But this would be the path that we would be on if the election system worked based on who has a plurality, right? Instead of requiring a majority to change, which is, I think, a fundamentally insane way to design that, to be clear. So the Central Council should win this upcoming election. Then what ends up happening, and I'm going to make a save right before that election happens, just to be clear, in case we want to change something about what's going on here, but I think that this is a more quote-unquote realistic way to do it. It does mean that we're not going to be able to do anything until 44, but we're going to be guaranteed to do something at 44. So that's, you know, interesting, I guess. Do we want to do it that way, or do we want to just jump straight to fascism? Like I said, it's going to mean 4 years of doing nothing. I've changed my mind again. This would be the path that we would take if we wanted to do that. But I'm just going to do... We're going to take that back out, and we're going to add in the 15 points to fascism, like that. And we're just going to have it be like this. Actually, we need like one more because of rounding. So that puts us back to where we were at this point. So that means that the fascists are going to win this. And essentially, like I said, that's basically just hiring a fascism advisor at this point. And we've got that political power. So I believe it's PP. And then I'm going to spend, because I've made some changes here, I'm going to ramp it up. I'm going to do 180. Okay, so there's our political power paid off at this point, theoretically. And now we're going to go fascism immediately here, theoretically. Now, I don't necessarily want to kick off a global war immediately. We've got some work to do yet on that. So we're working our way through rocket effort here. We're going to grab some of these other efforts. And then we'll start working our way down this way. But this will give us the ability to start cleaning up some of these little neutral guys. And that's the ideal scenario here, I feel like. So we have a research slot available, and we're going to be able to grab something here. What do we want? We could grab assembly line production. That's absolutely fine. So we'll get going on that. We have a doctrine available, which is going to be mobile defense, which is absolutely fine. We also have an air doctrine available, and we had already gone for ground support here, for infrastructure destruction. So that's the route that we're going to go there. I think we could actually get both of those, but that's fine. So yeah, I'm not a fan of doing things this way, but I really feel like there's no option other than, well, specifically, if we didn't intervene at all, this game would never take off. We'd just sit here forever, and nobody would ever do anything. That's obviously not an acceptable outcome. So intervention was necessary. The major choice here is to go straight for fascism, and the reason behind that is just so that we're not sitting around for 4 years. If we were just sitting around for 4 years, then going non-aligned into fascism would be thematically a better way to go. We can just pretend that this has been happening over the last 4 years, right? So I think that's fine-ish, but I don't like it. But I think it's the only way. I'm going to make a save right before the election, which I believe is just on the 1st. I don't know that for a fact. We're going to make a save right before it. Okay, so there's logistics company. We'll get there, but for now, I'm not worried about it. It's the 28th. Field hospital, sure. 29th. And it's the 30th. I'm going to make a save here, and this is... I'm just going to name this as before the election. Okay, there we go. So that's absolutely fine. We now have a save here in case we decide that this is awful and we can't do this, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't see another option here. It is what it is, right? Okay, so 1 August, and the question is, I don't know what day in August this election actually is. It hasn't happened yet. So we're just going to cruise forward here until the election is completed. And we've got these unassigned divisions here. We'll get them assigned over. That seems fine. We need a couple of research slots here. I'd love to grab some of these. I'm just going to get some of this out of the way. That'll be fine. Okay. So that sounds good for now. We don't expect these guys to be particularly challenging for us, right? So that's absolutely understood. Okay, what do we want here? I think we would go for... This is for mechanized. I don't really care. Additional armor, probably? Sure, that seems fine. We're not really working on mechanized at all, so that's whatever. It's absolutely okay. Yeah, I would not go this route if we didn't have another option, but here we are. I feel like I'm spending too much time justifying it. I feel like I don't actually have to justify it, because I'm like, I feel like you guys get it, right? Like, there's literally nothing happening, and we have no legitimate way to make anything happen. So, action has to be taken. You guys understand that. I'm not going to try to justify it anymore. We do have justification that we need to do, but it's justification for our war against Al-Said at this point. That's how that's going to work. So, our next election is in August of 1940. It's August 22nd. I don't know what day in August 1940 this election is going to be on. But we have 51% party ideology for fascism, and that should get us to where we need to go to make things actually start happening here, theoretically. Rocket effort just finished. I'm going to grab CAS effort here. And that'll be fine for now. It's the 28th. What? August of 44. We're still democratic. 51% support. Okay, so we're going to have to reload the save again. Luckily, we made one just before the election. This is why I made this save. Okay, how do elections work? That's the question we need to figure out, because this is insane. Hang on. Did this actually load? I don't think it did. I was looking something up while this was supposed to be loading. Oh, crap. I just overwrote that. We have an autosave on the 1st of August. Okay, that's good. So, how can we do this? Actually, you know what we could do? We could load the save on the 28th of August and just be like, we don't accept those election results. And we're going to change our election. So I think we might have to write out the party name. So if we go to... Hang on. Where is this in here? Set ruling party. What if we write out the party name? So that would be Help F. Not a valid ideology. F. Oh, okay, that worked. So now we should be fascist. Yeah, we see our flag changed. We're now fascist because they won the election. Okay. I don't know how the elections work, but that was insane. So now we're fascist. And the question is, do we have to pay any political power for disputing that election? I'm going to say we do. So I'm going to pay an additional 75 for disputing that election. It's fine. Now we can start actually doing things. At long last. Okay. That was a lot of messing around with the game and the debug console, and I don't love doing that, but no choice but to do it, in my opinion. It is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode, we're going to start up on essentially a fully new timeline. It's 28 August. I believe we're on, like, 10 October on the previous timeline. So we're basically on a whole new timeline at this point. So I'm going to do that, and we're going to be able to start actually doing things and getting this game moving. That's going to be so much better. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Dark Horse, Ethan Feldman, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.